TikTok, it's time to rock. Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ranking of the Tracks show. It's the #1 show here on the channel, Rock Professor. It's our flagship show. It is the Alpha show,
Well,
and it's the Omega show.
Or the only one, pretty much. No,
Oh,
it's not quite.
Yeah, it's the only one. Good to see you. Good to see the Rock Professor, and good to see our dear brother, our good friend, our guest host, Hugh Caldwell, joining us again. Good to see you, Hugh.
Good to see you, Andrew. Good to see you, Simon. Glad
Yes,
to be back.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Regular, fantastic.
Fantastic.
You see, kids, this could be you if you wanted to. Come on.
Yeah, well, that's right. There's always a permanent invitation, isn't there, Simon, to anybody that's part of our family here. If you want to jump on, again, we're always going to be doing that. We're going to be plugging that. You've got 2 or 3 things that you're always going to be reminded about on our channel. You can come on as a guest. You don't even have to rank an album. If you just want to come on and just chat with the Rock Professors, Simon, Brad, and I, and anyone else will do that. So we're quite welcome to doing that. And we'll also be asking you to subscribe to our channel and also to our friends' channel. We've got John ZD351 in the chat, Rock Professor, and I'm sure he will put in links to Hugh Caldwell's channel during the course of the show. We ask you please to go and subscribe to Hugh if you're watching on a replay. We've been getting a few replays, Rock Professor.
Yeah. Well, we're getting a few views. It's nice, yeah. But we carry on our ploughing our own furrow, don't we, as a channel, regardless of. I don't know if that's. I think that's fine for me. That's absolutely fine. Where we should be.
Exactly.
I don't want to get into YouTube logarithm wars kind of nonsense. Honestly, I don't.
Well, it's interesting that you should say that because we've done a lot of shows and we've also had segments on shows, haven't we, Simon, where we've shared our experiences about our channel and how we've grown our channel. But I have to tell you, we're getting the 1s and 2s. Last month, Hugh, we got 22 subscribers to the channel. So, we've noticed that with YouTube, when you get to 1,000, when you get to 5,000, and then 6 and 7, and then 10, we kind of thought when we got to 10 that we'd probably get to 15 or 20 pretty quickly, but we're still hanging around 10, Simon.
It is. Well, at least the numbers are going up a little bit. I mean, I think, I feel astonished that we got to 10,000 personally. I think that's a fantastic, achievement. And as I said earlier, we plough our own furrow on this channel. We do what we want to do, and I clearly watch other channels and stuff, and there's a lot of talk of thumbnails and titles and clickbait, and which we just don't go in for really. And I don't, clearly, if you, and I think if you want to do that, then you have to be in that world a bit. You have to engage with the algorithms and stuff in a way that I don't really understand. But I think I like what we do here. I think 10,000 subscribers is a great, fantastic achievement for us, and we keep on doing what we're doing. And if it goes up by 20 subscribers a month, then that's fine.
Yep.
At some point we'll be at 10.2.
Exactly. And one of the great things, again, that we do here on this channel, Simon, is that we always ask people to subscribe to our friends as well, because it's been a lot of our friends that have helped share our channel. So, you know, that's the least we can do. So we ask, please, that you can do that. We want to do a couple of shout-outs, obviously, to our brother John ZD351, who was on the channel with us last week, and he's in the chat, and he's going to be joining us next week as we present for you a John Cougar Mellencamp album, Scarecrow. The only album I've ever owned of his, Hugh. It's the only album I've ever had. So I look forward to hanging out with you guys talking about that. I know Rock Professor's got a shout out, our special shout out to somebody missing.
To the mighty Brad, still on his European tour. I don't know where he's got to right now, but he's I could look and find out. But somewhere in Europe is Brad roaming the streets of Rome. Well, something good and going into every guitar shop he can find and playing guitars. I hope, or maybe not. But I know he had a very, very packed itinerary of things to do.
Oh yeah.
Jackie's got a thing, a list as long as your arm of things to do, and quite right too. If you come to Europe, there's a lot of things to do. You know.
Thank you for mentioning Jackie, Simon. Because I'm going to interrupt. Thank you for mentioning, because I friended her on Instagram. So we're in. So
right, okay.
So I think we need to include Jackie and Brad, especially because obviously they're a team and they're doing this together. So yeah, good point, Rock Professor.
Yeah. Yes. I'm always a tad wary of following people's partners, wives, or whatever. You know, digging too deep is not necessary. But yeah, so shout out to Brad somewhere in Europe, having a lovely time. I hope you are anyway, Brad. It's fantastic. You know,
sure he is.
One of those lifetime, once in a lifetime things. You know, you come to Europe, do Europe. You know,
he's in Greece.
He's currently in Greece. Is he? Lovely. Oh, there's more ancient monuments in Greece than there are on here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey. So Greece is an amazing country to, you know, ancient monuments, Parthenon, Delphi.
And John follows as many wives as he can. Good on you, brother.
Well done, John. Well done. And on the streets.
Slightly warmer than Scotland as well.
Yeah,
well, yes, Greece, yes, slightly. Is it almost everywhere slightly warmer than Scotland, though? I take that back. It's if you go to Scotland on a holiday, you'll have half beautiful sunshine and half other variable weather, and that's true.
And then some snow in the same day.
Yeah, it could easily. Yeah, as a man who's been to the Isle of Mull on numerous occasions, there is no more beautiful place than the Isle of Mull.
of Kintyre.
On the other hand, not the Mull of Kintyre, the Isle of Mull, which is different.
Oh, the Isle of Mull. Sorry, Kintyre's the long sausagey bit.
You know, yes, where McCartney lived is the peninsula, isn't it? Whereas the Isle of Mull.
Sure.
And Iona. Yeah, you'll get half beautiful weather, and you'll get the rain and the fog in your face.
Well, I spent a lot of time in the Isle of Arran.
Yes, beautiful.
Which is gorgeous place, just really mountainous and
wow,
beautiful, gorgeous place.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, shout out to Brad, who's having a lovely time. Jackie there.
Yes, good on you, Brad.
On their once in a lifetime trip, exactly. And I'm also going to slightly belatedly, but you know, hey, we missed Paul McCartney's birthday on the 18th of June. He was 82. So happy birthday, Sir Paul. Yes, yeah, we got two thumbs up, haven't we? Thumbs up, thumbs aloft.
Happy birthday, Paul. We love you and thank you, because you know, every time we mention a birthday, Simon and Hugh, we acknowledge the fact that these men generally, and some of them are ladies, but generally these guys are getting a little bit older. So every year that we have them is, you know, I don't want to get too sentimental here, but it's you know, a grace and a gift, isn't it, Simon? It's something, you know, that we've got to treasure, and anything that they're producing and then giving us in that 12-month period, Hugh, has to be sort of celebrated.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for
especially with
sure.
Maka. Maka's he's the daddy of
Yeah.
everything, in my opinion.
Yeah. Still out there doing it, still playing gigs, still
Yeah.
being tremendous. But, and he's got a fantastic band as well. But yeah, so hats off to Paul.
Awesome. Hugh, before you kick off the channel, I just want to remind our friends that you put up a couple of days ago on your channel a video. John ZD351 here, if you see there, has put the link to Hugh's channel. So if you are one of the people, you know, that do watch us on replay, I watch a lot of subscriber content channels, Simon. I don't watch any TV. So if you know, it's YouTube is where I get a lot of, you know, my viewing pleasure from. And one of the things that I've caught over the last couple of weeks when people talk about their channels, they say that, and YouTube gives you that information. A lot of people that watch our channel still aren't subscribers to our channel. So again, hit that subscribe button. And when you find yourself watching something that you like on YouTube, go and subscribe. Don't go and flick to the next video. Make sure, do yourself a favor and hit that channel subscribe button, because I don't think we do that enough. We don't do that consciously. So, and if you can do that, and go and see our friends as well, because again, that's one thing we've learnt. When we started asking people to do that, Simon, we noticed that growth. So again, don't be scared to ask for people to do that.
Seems to be, that's across the board, that, isn't it? That, you know, you always spend, I love watching Rick Beato or what's the Stephen Bartlett, the guy who does Diary of a CEO, who's got like, you know, 4.5 million subscribers. You know, he says regularly, look, you know, 62% of people who watch his channel don't subscribe.
That's right.
You know, and it's like, blimey, you know, and I'm sure that's probably the case with us as well, you know. And I know Rick Beato says a similar kind of number. So it seems seemingly that of the people who watch, only kind of 40% of the people who actually subscribe to the channel. The other 60% of views are, you know, occasionals or whatever. Maybe they watch it regularly and they just don't subscribe. But yeah,
yes,
so
some
please subscribe.
people just they're just grazers. Just
Yeah.
they're in and out a bit too quick without, as Andrew said, and then they're subbing and stuff like that.
Yep. Hit that sub button.
I mean, I understand it. I understand, you know, I'm subscribed to, you know, over 300 channels, you know, this kind of thing, you know. I can't say, you know, that I watch everything on every one of them, because you know, there's not enough hours in the day. But you know, I dip in and out of some and stuff, and you know, I have my sort of main ones that I do. But yeah, it's you know, I understand if you've got like, you know, 300, you go, what's the point of me subscribing to this? Because I'm not, you know, I may not come back for 6 months, you know. But we say subscribe, because come back in 6 months, that would be good, you know, and it helps the channel.
Yeah. I'll just let you folks know a little bit about what's coming up. Seeing we're talking about channels, so obviously the British Electric Blues is a big part of our channel here, Brad and Simon and Hugh and John and everybody that watches
else.
And that's part of our channel. It's a big part of what we do here. And also Jim's been on our channel, so you guys would appreciate that. There's no surprise there. So there are some channels that are specifically going to be talking about the subject over the next couple of months, as we will too. We've got Ramon from the guitar channel doing some British Electric Blues stuff. He's going to be on our show soon, hopefully talking about his JTM 45 build and British Electric Blues. He's talking about that on his channel. We've got Bob planning to come on our channel too, Simon, to talk about 58 Les Pauls going through JTM 45s. So there's some good stuff coming up on the channel if you like that kind of stuff. And again, that's our bread and butter. And we've got John and Jim on the Van Halen side of things planning a couple of shows as well. So some good content coming up on the channel.
Yeah, fantastic. That would be great. Yeah. Lots of cool stuff.
awesome.
So,
Hugh, do you want to kick off the show?
Yeah.
Yes, let's go. Okay then. Yeah, this is an album called Sheer Heart Attack by the band Queen. It's their third studio album. It was recorded between the 7th of July and 22nd of October.
Yep.
And released an EMI in UK and what's it called? Elektra Records in the States. It was released on the 8th of November 1974. Their first two albums were pretty progressive, and this was the album that kind of steered them into the pop rock theatrical more kind of side that would become their trademark in albums to come. It was produced by Ray Thomas Baker and the band themselves. And it managed to reach number 12, a high point on the Billboard Hot 100. Notable things about the album as their early use of kind of groundbreaking studio techniques and effects and stuff like that. How I got into this album, I was more always into like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and a lot of the 60s guys and all of that. And at first Queen didn't quite grab me when I heard like Night at the Opera and other albums. And then one day I was on a summer vacation, a small cottage, one beautiful 2 or 3 week holiday, and this was one of the albums that was at the cottage. I could hear that people were on, and I just remember sitting outside, the window open in the garden, listening to this album, and it just flowed all the way through. I've never heard a band sequence an album, or they do all their albums to be true, but the songs seem to seep into each other and they just make sense even though they don't sound like each other. It just works, the track order. So as when I heard this, it was more to my liking than what I'd heard before, like Bohemian Rhapsody and stuff like that. Sorry, the first two albums that were again more progressive rock, and this was more, still had the glam sound as well, but more, I would say, more grown up and less fun, just more serious. And it became a pretty pivotal album in the mid-80s was when I got into it. So yeah, that's my tuppence worth on that.
Brilliant.
So I'll just give a quick shout out to some people in the chat. We've got Gret Zeppelin, John ZD351. Morning, John. Morning, Gretch. Got Ellen as well. Ellen Tom. Morning, Ellen. Lovely to see you. OU812, Ryan. Good morning, Ryan. How are you? Enjoying your Sunday night jams before I go to bed. They're really cool. If you haven't caught Ryan and his gang doing Sunday night playing, they do specifically playing, which is great fun if you like that. If you like playing along with stuff, they're really, really good at it. So well done, Ryan, for that. That's fantastic, and all the technology that goes into it. I know it's hard. So Hugh, a man called Hugh Caldwell in the chat. So that's everyone who's made a comment. So I thought I'd say a quick good morning to you guys. In terms of I first came across Queen because they had a hit with Seven Seas of Rye off Queen 2. And that's, I think, probably my first sort of seeing them, because they played on Top of the Pops and stuff. And you're right, Hugh, they were very much that kind of progressive rock kind of, weren't they, thing that they did, kind of quite sort of space age and stuff. and then this album came out, and really the first single, Killer Queen, sort of, you know, nearly hit the top of the charts, and so and that really made them, I think, as a more of a more of a pop band than a rock band. They changed, and I think this is the transition album, isn't it, between that the first two and that progressive stuff, and moving into having more pop hits, but also a lot of more variety in the sound and things, and we can discuss that as we go through the tracks. So, and yeah, and I went to see them in 1975 on this tour, I think. So,
Wow.
Excellent.
Tony Davis.
Cool.
So, I can't remember much about it, to be honest. It's quite a long time ago, but I know I did go. So, Andrew, what about you?
Well, I became aware, Simon and Hugh, of Queen when they had Crazy Little Thing Called Love as a single.
Oh, okay.
And then a couple of years after that, they were one of the huge bands, Hugh, of the 80s, with that another one, Bites the Dust. And so that's the Queen. If there is a category or a division of Queen that I'm familiar with, it would be the Queen of the 80s. And and the singles, Radio Gaga, which became huge anthems. And then obviously a lot of the singles that were released from the band in the 70s that came to dominate now classic radio, including a couple of hits on this album that we're going to talk about. But I don't know a lot about the 70s version of Queen. A lot of the tracks from the 70s that I'm familiar with, Hugh, were on the two greatest hits albums that came out. That first greatest hits album, Simon, I think came out in 81 or something like that. And it was just everywhere. A good friend of mine, Elliot Strange, was a Queen fan, and listening to that with him while we were smoking cigarettes in his caravan in his backyard of his parents' house, Simon, because he was a naughty boy.
And
um,
of course you weren't.
No.
No. Yes.
Was just fantastic, and I was listening to other stuff at that time, but the common theme that we had, because there was some great guitar work on some of those songs on that album, so I was saying to the boys in the green room, I'm not familiar with this album at all. And when Hugh picked it, I was, wow, yeah, because it's going to, well, again, we're going to repeat ourselves, aren't we, Simon? But it's worth mentioning. Sometimes when someone picks an album, we might be familiar with that band or a couple of songs off that album. So I've had an opportunity now, after listening to Queen for 40 years, to actually listen to this album from beginning to end, something I've never done. So, that in itself was a great experiment. Hey, Tony, good to see you. Thanks for joining us again.
Morning, Tony.
So yeah, and again, folks, I have pushed, even though I was supposed to go second, I have pushed the Rock Professor into the second slot because he has seen the band play, and that's always going to give a little bit of credence. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to talking about this album. Hugh, you've picked a great album, so do you want to kick it off for us, brother?
Certainly, mate. Certainly. Okay, the album starts. Track one is called Brighton Rock. And it's basically the story of a couple of lovers going down to Brighton. They're mods, and sets the scene behind that. Starts off Freddie's real high falsetto voice. Then the rock guitars come in. it's Brian May uses a very groundbreaking, I would say, use of like, the Echoplex and delay on this song. It became a live favourite as well, where they would extend the song with another 5 or 6 minutes. As I say, the song starts with it. You hear like a fairground, and then in popsy music. It's a great. It's what I think it's one of Queen's best songs. I love it. That upbeat, heavy rhythm all the way through as well. When that kind of just it sets the album up with a bang, in my opinion. I think it's a really, really great song. It's always a 10 for me. This one, I love it.
Nice one. Yes, interesting. Yeah, I mean, Brighton Rock is the name of a low budget thriller from
Yes.
1947, based on a book by Graham Greene, starring Richard Attenborough, no less. So check that out if you've never seen it. It's a good film. But, I think that I've read it, and I know this that this is really a sort of, it's got some bits, and then there's this big Brian May solo in the middle. That kind of, this was the showcase for Brian's solo, wasn't it? And as you said, so he's got those kind of classic kind of Queen things. There's the multi-layered vocals, clearly they worked on.
Mhm.
There's almost always two guitars playing. There's one over here and one over here, and they're playing slightly different things. So there's going to be a harmony guitar, but playing lead lines kind of thing. And it has that over a basic kind of 2-chord sort of vamp, really, isn't it? And just give him that rhythmic bass in which he can improvise and do. It's funny, isn't it? It's got a whammy bar bit. He's like, and all of that stuff, which is probably pretty early for that sort of thing. Hendrix probably did it, but it sounds kind of quite modern in this context. But I think that I tell you what it reminds. And I don't. This is the wrong way around, but it kind of sort of thought it reminded me a bit of Eruption in a funny kind of way. It was just
Right.
a 2-minute slice of this is what I can do on a guitar kind of thing. With as you say here, with some of the effects and the the whammy bar stuff and all those things, you go, oh right, okay, I get to I know it's the wrong way around completely, but that's kind of that kind of way it struck me as a thing. Again, as you say, Hugh, it's got those really high vocals, doesn't it? They're really high falsetto vocals. I don't know whether that's I mean, it's 1974. It's going to be real. It's not. There's no fakery involved in this. It's that's if you sing that high, that's extraordinary. But as I say, that multi-layered vocal things, and then going from the high vocals down to the standard vocals in the verses kind of thing, starting off high and then coming down. I agree, Hughes. 10 out of 10, isn't it? It's one of their classic songs and a classic showcase of Brian May, and and his unique sound that he already has, or he has on his album for sure. So absolutely 10 out of 10, and never a skip. Andrew.
Thanks, guys. I'm just going to quickly do a shout out to Jonas, if that's okay, before I get into the track,
Yes.
because I'm trying to organise to have a chat with Jonas, and he's got no social media links. So, Jonas, I'm thinking if you're free this time tomorrow, we could talk on StreamYards. So I can email you a link for StreamYards, and you just hit that and follow that, and we can talk like this on StreamYards, but it won't be live. So in the course of the show, let me know if that works, and I can set that up now for us. So let me know. Okay. So sorry for hijacking the show, Hugh. Simon, before I kick off my rankings, what version of the film do you like? The original one or the remake of Brighton Rock?
Oh, I like the original. I like the Richard Attenborough original. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic. It's kind of got that kind of film noir feel to it, and
Yes.
that I think is benefits as a film, really. I'm not necessarily a fan of oh look, it's all colourful, zing zing, it's all better. not often not, I would feel.
Yeah, when I reflect on our English literature classes here in New Zealand back long time ago, I'm thankful that we had a good curriculum, because one of the parts of the curriculum that we had to do is read Green's novel and also watch the film, which is just fantastic. Again, when you're 15 years old, it's just fantastic. So glad obviously that Queen are sort of dovetailing into this big part, this legacy of English, of British, of that literature scene, that whole scene, Simon. It's a big part of that landscape, and obviously these progressive rock and roller dudes are latching onto it for good effect.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that that kind of very English kind of, that film from the 40s, and as Hugh, as you pointed out just now, the seaside organ, the fairground organ at the beginning stuff, and the music hall stuff, it all kind of seeps into their sound, doesn't it? I
Totally.
think with this album and moving forward, that those things actually start to come out a bit more. Sorry, Andrew, I'm interrupting.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So, Jonas, I will email you a link for us to meet this time tomorrow on StreamYards. Thank you. But no, that's fantastic, and I love that. I love that, and we've seen that many times with Led Zeppelin, haven't we? And we've seen it with Blind Faith. A lot of these guys, they and again with Clapton. Jimmy Page loves it. This whole writing, from that historical perspective, that's very English, and I love that, because it's just part of that tradition. I agree with you guys, and Simon, there is no faking that falsetto vocal. Very
There is
interesting.
not.
It was very interesting. It had been a long time, Hugh, since I heard this song. Familiar with this song, but it was a long time. Reminded me a little bit of Sergeant Pepper's, that how it starts off with the crowd, and a little bit of that fairground. It's like, oh yeah, I'm into this, and that guitar solo, it's just phenomenal. Just a phenomenal piece of guitaring. Minus the guitaring, I'm going to say very much a product of its time. And as Hugh said, if you guys didn't catch it in his intro, you have to remember that this band had produced 2 albums that we would define as progressive rock. So this song is dovetailing into that tradition, which you would see or hear and not be too confused by, Simon, at the time in 74 or 75. Look, I've given this a 9 out of 10. And Hugh, as I said to you in the green room, been a long time since I heard this opening track. It's never a skip. Hugh.
Excellent. Okay, then on to track number 2, which is Killer Queen. Easily the most recognised song from the album that most people have heard at some time in their lives. I think it's a bit of a pop masterpiece myself. You're hearing Fred's kind of vaudevillian side coming out on this, with the way he sings the lyrics, and he's kind of confident the way he's singing the lyrics too. It shows the band kind of fully formed in that kind of style now, that they're like masters of rock theatre. There's not a lot you can say about this song. That it's got a beautiful solo, guitar solo, and it's gorgeous in 2 parts. It's a great song. Just another 10 for me, easily. Classic.
It is. It has become a classic Queen song, this, hasn't it? Absolutely. It's the one you hear on any radio station, besides Bohemian Rhapsody, probably is right up there. you know, that classic opening line, she keeps her Moe and Chandon in a pretty cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's as classic a line as you can find, I think, in rock music these days. You know, that sounds like that song, you know, and it's got, as you say, that classic kind of Freddie at the piano thing. It start off Freddie at the piano, you know, with what we could say is a great tune. You know, let's not forget, you know, that these things are based on great melodies and stuff, and I think that's really important. So, you know, piano and vocals start, bass drums and guitars. You know, again, multi-track vocals. You know that they do, that they've mastered. You know, and I just remind people, lest you forget, as John said, you know, there's no auto tune, there's no Pro Tools. This is on tape.
Yep.
So you have to go in and sing it. And then once you've done that, you have to go and sing it again and again. And then you have to go and sing the other part again and again and again. You know, so you get, you know, 4 parts, three times. You get 12 part harmonies. I mean, to do it with that amount of quality takes work. That's a lot of work, and you know, a lot of dedication and a lot of focus and a lot of, you know, and a lot of ability. So, you know, whatever you think about Queen, that the technical thing about being able to sing like that, I think is amazing. Really, it does. You know, it still strikes me as amazing these days because it's, you know, it's so technically complex and without any technology to do it besides tape. So, you know, hats raised in, you know, complete admiration for that. You know, doing it that way. I think, as I say, it's got swing and it's got melody. You know, and it's got the greatest things you need in a pop thing. Fantastic guitar solo. You know, I think there's like 3-part guitar solo. I think there's like a rhythm guitar and then the harmony guitar bits and the, you know, and then the guitar interjections at the end. And at the end they have a guitar like on loop, doesn't it? It kind of has a loop thing effect, which is they use a couple of times on here. It'll be again. It'll be an analog process, that of piece of tape going round, you know, through the heads. Probably a pencil or something holding the other. Yeah, I can remember doing that in my dad's studio. You know, have it holding bits of tape with pencils, you know, so that it goes through the tape and plays it. But you just making it 10, you know, that just looping it like that, sticking it together. It's fun. Oh, those were the days. uh, Hugh, I agree with you. It's a classic, 10 out of 10, never a skip. Yeah, absolutely. You know, bona fide Queen classic, isn't it? Absolutely. Andrew.
Thank you, Simon. That's a good point, folks, that the rock professor has pointed out, you know, that these bands were going through. Yes, you know, the amount of effort going into the production of these numbers, absolutely, 100%. You're not snorting cocaine, Hugh, or drinking scotch or having bevies, are you, while you're working on these in the studio? Are you, Simon? You know,
No, you're on it.
it's
You've
not,
got to be focused on it. Absolutely.
you know, because even, you know, let's remember back in the day, you know, it wasn't cheap. Recording companies were charging bands and artists a lot of money to produce these albums. So, you know, yeah, a lot of work. So thank you, Rock Professor, for pointing that out and reminding us about that. What do we say, Hugh, about this song? It's a classic song, isn't it? It's phenomenal. It's the song that I think most people, along with Bohemian Rhapsody, probably solidly identify with, you know, Freddie and Queen. I think it's marvelous, and I think you're right when you said it was a pop song. Just want to remind people that if you want to go and do some research on Queen, and we try and do that on bands beforehand, we try and have a look. Simon and Hugh, I was amazed with the amount of information and websites out there which detail Queen and these songs. It's just phenomenal. Wikipedia, for example, has every song. There's an entry for just about every song on Wikipedia, and they don't do that a lot for a lot of bands. So go and check that out, folks. I love the drum and the bass on this track, Hugh. It's just phenomenal. Roger Taylor and Deaky And Deaky's got a big part to play later on too on this album too, Simon, hasn't he? You know, as opposed to just playing bass. The production is just fantastic. Definitely, I won't swear. I promise, I won't swear. I'll wait till about the fourth song before I swear. But there are two songs that you definitely have to listen to with headphones. This is one of them. Go and listen to this song with headphones and just get blown away. So again, Hugh, thank you for picking this album, because I don't think I had listened to this song with headphones.
Right.
And even though I'm familiar with the song because they play it on classic rock, I was blown away, Simon, when I heard it on headphones.
Yeah. You can't. It's a different experience when you start listening to it on stereos or
Yeah.
proper headphones. The radio does odd things. To pretty much a mono thing, isn't it? And it's normally only coming out of one speaker if it's on a radio, and you don't quite. You get some of the effect, but you don't get all of it, do you, by a distance?
No. So it was a real treat for me to do that. Someone's already let the baby out with the bathwater, or the cat out of the bag. This has to be
cat out of bag.
Cat of the, okay. This has to be a Brad score for me. It's never a skip. And Hugh, you said it. You said it. It was a pop song. A lot of the websites that I read said that was one of the reasons why Brian May kind of didn't like this song, didn't want it to be the first single, but listened to the rest of the band and went and said, when the chicks came rolling in, Simon, when the chicks came rolling in, went and said, I'm sorry.
Oh dear.
Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
Look at that. See, 42 minutes in, we're into a bit of Greek for you, kids.
Latin. All right. Never a skip. Hugh.
Okay, Simon. Andrew, sorry. On the track.
I know we look
number
the same.
3.
I know we're both handsome,
I
but
know.
jeepers, I'm better looking than Simon.
Certainly got more beard.
That's and a hat.
Yeah, and a hat.
Okay, track 3 is a track called Tenement Funster. If anyone doesn't know what a tenement is, it's like an apartment block. I grew up in one. There's loads of them in Glasgow, even though loads were
Famous.
knocked down in the late 70s. Yeah, very famous. Anyway, this was written by Roger Taylor, and I think it was originally conceived as like the first part on the 3-song melody with the next 2 songs after this. Hence why they're all kind of short. Roger's drumming's really cool on this. I really like it a lot. The name of the song Funster goes, I think it's a fun song. I really like it. And I think Freddie only played some piano on this. Only.
Oh, yeah.
No singing. Yeah, it's a very, very good, cool album track. It's an 8 out of 10 for me, this one.
Yeah, I think that's so apparently he Roger Taylor wrote it about Youth and Rebellion, but John Deacon plays the acoustic guitar because Brian May was having a duodenal ulcer or a ulcer episode, I think.
That's right.
So he wasn't around. So the guitar you hear, the acoustic guitar, electric acoustic guitar, is John Deacon. Yeah, rare appearance out from behind the bass, but yes, I think so. It's got, it's very much an electroacoustic song, isn't it? It has built into that solo at 123, kind of, which is, classic, not played by Brian May, I don't think so. Still a dramatic, soaring, melodic solo, but and just as you say, Hugh, it's part of this 3-song run, isn't it? That so you get a crossfade at the end into the next track. I agree. Kind of, I think on it because we're doing them separately. On its own, 8 out of 10 from me. But not a skip. It's fine. I think that contrast with you can see that there's a lot. The first track is very much a rock track. Then you've got that very much kind of piano-led second track. And then you've got electroacoustic-led third track. We're getting into Queen variety, aren't we?
Mhm.
So one track is not going to sound like the last track, etc. And I think they made a virtue of it, didn't they, in their following albums?
Yeah.
Andrew.
This is where it's going to be pretty interesting, folks, because I'm not a expert on Queen at all, and I would classify myself, Hugh and Simon and folks in the chat, as a average Queen fan. So I hadn't heard this track before, Hugh, and
Mhm.
obviously I did a little bit of research and realised, okay, that these 3 songs were, part of that progressive scene that Queen were and are, and we're trying to kind of break out of Simon, but just couldn't quite do it. They still had to have that connection back to this, art house version of Queen. You said it, this, the university crowd kind of scene, and I only found that out on Thursday evening, which kind of put into perspective. So I gave it an extra score because of that, because I could see what Queen were trying to do, and but generally speaking, I'm going to say Roger's singing. Hugh, you said that. Roger is this, and he sings on a couple of other Queen tracks through the course of their career, I understand. So, and had he sung on their first 2 albums at all? You guys know? Had he done vocals on their
Yeah, I
first?
can't remember what song, but he did. Yeah.
Okay, so this is not the first time he's singing for
No,
Queen. Okay.
I think they tended to sing their own songs, didn't they?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Okay.
There was a thing about if like I'm in love with my car. Roger Taylor's is a hit. Yeah, so he sang
Yeah.
that. He
Yeah.
does the lead vocal. And I think there's a thing in Queen, especially this first part of Queen, where you all came with your own songs and people sang their own songs pretty much. As a standard thing.
Okay. Thank you for confirming that. Look, this song just wanders along for me. It's a intro. It's a gateway into the next 2 tracks. I'm kind of kicking stones, Simon, while I'm walking along the path. I'm kicking cans. I'm kicking a can all over the place. When with this track. Clearly I can't skip it because it's part of a 3 suite concept. But I might skip it. So I've given this 7 out of 10. I originally gave it 6, but when I found out a little bit more about the backstory, as I said, it's given 1 point. Yeah, it's the segue into the next song, Hugh, which you're going to intro and score for us.
Indeed. Yes, the next one is track 4, and it's called Flick of the Wrist. This was released as a double A side with Killer Queen. Probably the highlight of I think of this song is the backwards sounding guitar from Brian May all the way through it a lot.
Yeah.
Sounds incredible. Has that kind of piano intro again, similar kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody, and the song itself sounds like a precursor to Death on Two Legs, a later song of theirs, to me. I think it's a really good song, and worthy of being released as a double A-side single, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10.
Yes, I mean, this is, I think Flick of the Wrist is something they did a lot live and things as well, didn't they? So it became a staple of their live set for sure. Again, it's a Freddie Mercury song, so it starts off with the piano, doesn't it? And the piano takes over from the guitar as it fades out from the previous track, and then they're into it. Apparently, Freddie said that it explained the unpleasant character in the song was not based on anyone particular. I wrote it as sort of a tongue-in-cheek story about the con men and rip-off artists we're always running into. Our manager would like to think it's about him, but it's not.
Sheffield Brothers.
Sort of a lot of shady characters then. But, yes, and then very much back to that kind of classic Queen thing, with the piano taking the sort of lead rhythm instrument. The bass and drums very much kind of in the background, don't they? They provide a solid base on which to, and I think we can say that a lot about these tracks, is that the bass and the drums are not, most of the time, are not very intrusive, are they? They just lay down the foundation.
Very much.
Yeah, and
spot on.
Then it's really, and I think, Freddie and Brian May's kind of, multi-track guitars and things that, become the way that, certainly on this album, the way that they do it. I mean, this is no different. It has lots of vocals, backing vocals on them. It has that kind of those guitar parts as well, multi-track guitar parts, and very steady bass and drums, and that's the way that it works as a song. And again, and at the end, it has various parts to the song, doesn't it? Have a part, then have another part, and you can see that there's quite a lot of putting bits together compositionally, so they fit together, but they provide a dynamic and they provide a change to the in what you're listening to quite often, which is that kind of pop thing, isn't it? You keep it moving sonically. So 9 out of 10 from me, never a skip. And I think we're getting into classic mid-period Queen. This is the template on which they didn't do Night at the Opera and Day at the Races and all that stuff. Andrew, good morning to Arvin. Good morning, Arvin.
Yeah. Good to see you, Arvin. Good to see you, brother. And
Morning,
again, the Rock Professor's right. This is the leading up to Night at the Opera. Yeah, and the races. Yeah. Which it's another version of Queen. I agree with what Alan is saying here. Freddie's piano on this track is fantastic, but you guys have hit the nail on the head. The great thing about this track are the layered guitars. It's just fantastic. It's just brilliant. And again, to listen to that Hugh through my headphones, I don't think I think I may have heard when I was listening to it, Simon. I think I would have I've heard it somewhere. Maybe it was on one of the Queen documentaries. There's a few Queen documentaries out. Maybe and it was like, I think I've heard this, but I couldn't quite sort of pin it down. But loved hearing it on the headphones. And again, the Rock Professor's hit the nail on the head. The layered guitars, the production, it's just fantastic. And I too have given this 8 out of 10, same as Alan. Jonas, I've flicked you an email. You've got an email with the StreamYard's link for us to have a chat tomorrow. Look forward to it. Cheers, brother. Hugh.
Excellent.
Okay, on with track 5, which is the final part of our short trilogy. It's called Lily of the Valley. This is a very much just Freddie track on piano. I think his vocals sound beautiful on this. It's amazing vibrato in his voice. He just sings that kind of style as good as anyone ever, I think. And I think he did all his own backing vocals on this too. It's all Freddie.
Oh wow!
It's a beautiful wee vocal and piano track. I can't really fault it. It's pretty short, so I mean, there's not a lot to dissect about it. It's just a very pleasant on the ear song, in my opinion. So it's another 8 out of 10.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, it's kind of it's quite difficult. This, isn't it? It's only 1:43 long. It's just a little piano piece by Freddie. Apparently, it was written about the 1835 novel Lily of the Valley by Honoré de Balzac, who's a 19th century French novelist. And Freddie loved French novels and the French language. So I mean, clearly, he used Killer Queen and Let Me Entertain You. So Seaside Rendezvous contained French sayings, for example. The song also references Queen to Seven Seas of Rye in the line "Messenger from the Seven Seas has flown to tell the King of Rye he's lost his throne." So the reference to Seven Seas of Rye there. Yeah, as you say, it's multi-track Freddie, isn't it? Vocals, absolutely. There's nobody else on it. And I think quite often Queen did this, didn't they? They would have bits where one member would do everything, kind of thing, because they could. Okay. I give it a 7 out of 10, kind of on its own. I think we must bear in mind that it's part of the trilogy, that 3-song trilogy. But I think, I wouldn't skip it. It's only 1:43, but I think it's a more minor thing. So 7 out of 10 from me, but not a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. I think it's an interesting piece, and thank you for giving us that background. Again, it's not only English literature that's inspiring a lot of these guys, it's European literature as well, and culture. So long before Brexit, long before the EU, Simon,
Stop that now. You look what happened last week in the green room.
When I listened to this track, I had images of Freddie sitting at the keyboards and playing this from the Bohemian Rhapsody film. I just kept having these flashbacks, Simon, and of how Freddie could just do that and liked doing that. I think A Day at the Races, the making of The Day of the Races, the rest of the band talk about how Freddie loved just sitting there at the keyboards and just tinkering around and seeing what melodies and what chords he could play. So that was in the back of my mind when I heard this. Didn't know, Hugh, that he did the whole thing himself with the background vocals, because I knew that the rest of the band loved providing the vocals, early on. So thank you for clarifying that. But you're right, Simon and Hugh, it's just classic Freddie, isn't it? I've got cool keys, classic Freddie vocals, which goes on, to dominate, the music industry. And for me, it's kind of beginning here on this album. Again, I listened to it on my headphones, beautiful piece. But I too have given this, originally I gave it a 7, Hugh, but I'm giving it an 8, an extra point because of that 3-song connection, which I think, affected me when I went and listened to the 3 of these songs continuously, Simon, and said, oh yeah, I'll get a little bit of it. Never a skip though. Hugh.
Cool. Okay. This is final track of side 1 on the album.
I've got some picks
it's
too,
called
bro.
Now I'm Here. Yep. Again, this is another Queen classic in my opinion. Great rocker, huge guitar and drum sound on this. Actually, Roger Taylor's drums are a bit more forward than before on this, I think. It was written by Brian May, by the way. I should say that.
I didn't know that. I did not know that until I did research.
Right.
It blew me away
Uh,
when I found that out. So sorry for interrupting.
no. The vocal harmonies is classic Queen again. It's like so complex and layered. It's amazing. Just it's like again rock theatre at its best.
Great point, that Hugh. That is a great point. It has that kind of rock theatre thing. No wonder Queen have a have a
Yeah,
a musical going on even as we speak. Don't we? That's a great point.
yeah. And the way Freddie sings through this song, it kind of demonstrates why he was such a rock god, because he's just amazing. He's so confident and he got swagger to his voice when he's singing, and he brought that through when he played live. That's why they were so great live too. This is just a massive big banger of a song. Play it loud. Brad score.
Yes. Excellent. So yeah, it is one of their classics, this, isn't it? Now I'm here. Starting off with that. Now I'm here, and the stunted guitars are ding 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 ding. It does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it kind of builds up the tension, does it? Until at about 36 seconds in, he's got bang when he goes into that really big chord, and that riff is it's brilliant. I mean, it's, as you say, that has a real theatrical, dramatic thing to it. That that they use to the full. Queen, absolutely. Apparently, Brian May wrote it on their '74 tour supporting Mott the Hoople, which so the lyrics contain the reference to "Down in the City, just Hoople and me," which is about Mott
That's
the
right.
Hoople.
Yeah.
And it's about the hard, fast, good and bad times of extensive touring. So, but I think that to some extent, it's about the that musicianship, isn't it, with Queen? It's all about that build up, that massive, and then that great riff as well, which just goes into it. And again, the multi-track vocals, which are fantastic, work every time. And then into that kind of the bridge bit, which has got it's kind of Chuck Berry kind of lead guitar, isn't it? All those double stops that they play, and got breakdown, back to the main riff, and then that bit at the end where they quote Chuck Berry's Little Queenie, don't they? He goes, "Go, go, go, little Queenie,"
Little Queenie.
which of course is a la T-Rex's "Get It On," doesn't it? Where he sings at the end, "Meanwhile, I'm still thinking," which is also from Chuck Berry's Little Queenie, which is me, I love that sort of connection and tie-up. So I can't argue. It's a Queen classic. Again, 10 out of 10. Never a skip. One of their apps. And what a way to end side one. Not stronger. Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Simon, for pointing out the connections to the brothers and sisters of rock and roll over the pond for the English guys. Hugely influential, even for even for these bands, that probably aren't solidly identified as blues bands or rock and roll bands, Simon, at this stage. But see obviously the connection for themselves as musicians. So that's a good point, and it's a point that I made too. So go and check that out too, folks. Always worth making those connections. I agree with you, Hugh. It's just phenomenal. It's a song that I knew before this album. When I saw that it was on here, I was, this is the second song that you have to go and listen to, definitely on headphones. Go and check here, because here I am. Here, it's like it's oral. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like far out. And I'm straight listening to it, Simon.
Stoner Walton.
Love the drums. Roger Taylor, just a fantastic drummer, isn't he? And the guitar tone, Hugh, on this track is just phenomenal. the rock professors described it. All, you know, when the band comes in, bang! It's just like holy cow. And I think in 1974, Simon, if you're listening to this album for the first time and you've listened to side one, your head would be spinning all over the place because you've heard pop, you've heard some prog rock, and then you've heard some rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, my head certainly was after listening to these, you know, this side. It's like, you know, how many years later? 50?
Yeah.
50 years later? 40 years later?
Yeah. 50. No, 40, 49 years later. Only.
49. Okay, only 49 years later.
Let's stop counting. Doesn't do us any good.
Hugh, one of my favourite Queen tracks in my top 3. Just a phenomenal track. This is a Hugh score. It's never a skip. And perfect ending for side 1. Perfect. Couldn't get any better.
Yeah.
No, couldn't. And I'll just make a point. Just suddenly occurred to me that I think where Queen, if you don't know Mott the Hoople, then go and investigate Mott the Hoople. I've got this kind of double CD of the best of Mott the Hoople, which goes in their CBS era and whatever the latest stuff is. But if you play things like All the Way from Memphis, Honolulu Boogie and stuff, you know, they are very like this. Now I'm Here. They have elements of it. They don't do the vocal. They don't do the multi-tracking vocals in the same way. But they have that kind of piano guitar thing because Ian Hunter plays the piano quite a lot. So they are worth checking out as a kind of a bit of an antecedent to Queen getting into this. And I think you know that it's written whilst on, and that figures completely that you know there's an influence there.
And go and check out somewhere on the channel too. We did a Hunter show.
All American Alien Boy.
All American, yeah. So go and check that out. If you're watching on a replay, if I've remembered, I may attach the video link for you to go and check that out. But thank you, Simon, for reiterating that. So we're just going to flick through some pictures. Trying to do my best Freddie King voice for you.
Oh, right. That's what it is. Oh, it's uncanny. Possibly.
You should hear me trying that.
So here's some lobsters getting cooked. Oh, sorry. This is Queen. This is Queen. They look like orange lobsters, Simon.
They do. That doesn't look good, does it? It's
no.
What they were thinking, anyway.
yeah. Go and check it out. At least they've got clothes on. So here's some pics from '74. So again, folks, if you're familiar with what we do, we try and show pics specifically from the era of the band's album that we're talking about. So there they are there. Standing tight and close, Simon. Pretty tight there in '74.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Doing what bands should do. Stand together when they're playing so you can hear each other and stuff.
This is a pic from them in Australia. So as you would expect with artists from the '70s, Simon, lots of hair.
Plenty of hair.
These are posters sold out. Queen live at the Rainbow. A big deal for a band to play at the Rainbow. And apparently every night they played there, they were sold out, Hugh. So,
absolutely.
This is a
famous concert there too.
Fantastic. This is a still from Top of the Pops show 2 weeks after the release of Sheer Attack, performing Killer Queen. Apparently, this was a really, really popular video.
Brian May with a Stratocaster.
Mm.
Yes, indeed. Brian. That's better.
Freddie and Brian peeling it back. And for all you guitar lovers out there, one of the reasons why you watch what we do here, there's Brian with his red special, and the last shot here of Brian with his red special. And before Hugh kicks off side 2, I want to just talk to you about this book here. If you're into the red special, go and get this book. It's called Brian May's Red Special. We were alerted to this because we had John from the Red Special podcast on the channel, and I will definitely attach a link to John's channel for you to go and check out. We spent, an hour, maybe 2 hours talking to him about the Red Special, and I had no idea. These guys, Hugh, could tell when they watched Bohemian Rhapsody, they could tell by looking at the Red Special that they got the year wrong, because they could tell by the tuners that the Red Special had. And we love that, because that kind of detail is what super fans possess, and I wouldn't have known that. I don't know anything, but I have to tell you, after reading this book about that guitar, you kind of put it into a league of its own. There's pictures there of him building it with his dad. Never been refretted in close to 50 years. I think he had this guitar in 1966, Hugh. So
yeah, I think you put stainless steel frets in it, which was the first.
Correct. So that's 58 years.
Mm.
That guitar has never been refretted in 58 years. And if you guys are interested, there's some rumors going on the internet that Gibson are going to come out with a Red Special copy. So that's going to be very interesting. That's going to open up the market, I think, to a lot of Queen music, Hugh. It's, because anything, around an artist's guitar is always a good thing. And the fact that, Brian's jumping on board, he can do that. He can take that design to any company he wants, because Guild, he sold it to Guild. Greco did a couple of versions, and the fact that he's going to take it to, Burns, you got it. But, if you're interested in the Red Special guitar, I'll put a link to this book. And actually, Andrew's 5-minute videos this week may do a 5-minute review on this book.
Oh, cool. That'd be good.
Hugh.
Yes, if you haven't checked them out, check out Andrew's 5-minute book reviews. Always informative and leading you into new areas. So they're on the channel, so check those out. They're short, most.
Always a bit of bullshit. Always a bit of bullshit, Simon.
I like the clap at the beginning as well. Very theatrical. Anyway, Hugh,
right then,
back to you. Side 2.
Side 2, thank you. This is track number 7 on the album. It's called In the Lap of the Gods. Now, I hadn't heard this album all the way through for maybe 30 years.
Wow.
Because obviously at certain times in your life you'll detour and you're listening a lot, and Queen went, I remember, by the wayside a bit on my listening, so and again, as you said once, Andrew, earlier, that you were more familiar with like greatest hits and stuff like that. I was doing a lot of that. I was making playlists up myself and all that kind of stuff. So when I heard, I hadn't actually heard this song for years, and I remember at the time kind of liking it, but it was a bit. I don't remember a lot about it, to be truthful. But to be honest, it's really grown on me over the last week or so listening to it again. It became kind of this warms my heart a bit. There's something about this song I really love. It's a Roger Taylor song, and it opens up with this high scream that at first will frighten you a bit. It's like, what is that? And then in comes Freddie, and the whole thing's kind of operatic and cinematic, and Freddie's voice is like, I'm sure there's some sort of effect on it because it sounds kind of distorted and a weird sound on it. There's like beautiful octave harmony again with Brian on the guitars, harmonising with himself again and stuff like that. And then near the end, as the song's going out a bit, Roger comes in sounding like Claire Torrey from Dark Side of the Moon.
Yes.
And I love that. I think it's brilliant. So if you asked me 3 weeks ago how I would have ranked this song, I would have probably said about a 7. But it's up now to a 9. I love it.
Yeah, it's an interesting opener to side 2, isn't it? It's I think Hugh, if I make small correction, it is written by Freddie, not although
Oh,
him and
sorry.
Roger Taylor do all the vocals, and that really high bit is Roger Taylor singing, really
Yeah.
high,
Oh, really?
inhumanly high. If you ask me, yeah, that's
Yeah.
Roger Taylor singing that.
Wow.
But, yeah, it's amazing. Again, you could tell it. I think you could tell it's a Freddie track because it starts with the piano. You know, where else are you going to go with it? I don't think. And you've got that kind of you've got the verse which has the piano and the bass, and then that kind of, was it a phased gong or something, or some sort of mad mad kind of percussive instrument. I don't know if it was cymbals or whether it was a gong, giving it a kind of amazing kind of swirling thing, doesn't it? You know, then you've got that acoustic in the background, and with the solo, and again those melodic electric guitars, you know, over the 2 chords at the end, and then the piano electric guitar. Yeah, I give it 8.5 out of 10. It's not a skip. Good opener, you know, to side 2. Andrew.
In the lap of the gods. You, you know, when you hear or read a song title, Simon, you have an image of what you think the song might be. You know, yeah, you know, in the lap, and I'm kind of thinking, oh, this is going to be a rocket. This is going to be, you know, this is going to be, you know, yeah. I was quietly surprised. Incredible production. I know that you've been talking about that on side 1, but I've made a note here. The production on this track is just incredible, especially with the vocals. So I didn't do any research on the vocals, so I didn't know that. So I've just got a note here by, I suspect, Roger. Roger Taylor, Freddie, and or Brian May. So it's just Freddie and Roger.
Just Freddie and Roger Taylor doing the vocals on this. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't make any difference because they just do brilliantly, don't they? Just do it.
Wow.
They go and do, yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and because of that, you know, I you know, that's worth 2 points. So I've given that 8.5. Hugh, 8.5 out of 10. Great track, interesting track to open side 2. Very interesting. Hugh.
Thank you. Okay, track number 8 is Stone Cold Crazy. This is a more, what I would say, rockier song. Not a pretty short song. Has a kind of killer riff. I like the riff in it. But the song doesn't outstay its welcome. They pack everything that needs to be into the 2 minutes 24 or whatever it is. Just a banging rocker that's again, just ups the ante a wee bit from the sound of on the last one. The album seems to do that. It seems to be you'll get a quiet piece and then a louder piece, and then another two quiet pieces and then a louder piece. Uh, yeah, it's a very, very solid 9 out of 10. Nice, cool song.
Yeah, it's apparently the first time all four members shared a writing credit. Before that,
All right.
they didn't start doing that until 1986 formally. So after 1986, everything was just credited to Queen. But up to then, you got your own credit and your own stuff, but it's actually credited to everybody. Apparently, the lyrics deal with gangsters and include a reference to Al Capone. One interesting, a track has a fast tempo and heavy distortion, presaging speed metal. The music magazine Queen describes Stone Cold Crazy as thrash metal before the term was invented, which may be a spot of hyperbole, but nothing wrong with that in a music magazine. You've got to get the viewers in. But as you say, Hugh, it's kind of straight in, isn't it? Straight into this track, feedback guitar and hi hat, which is and then that full band in with that kind of very, it's very driven, distorted guitar for sure. But again, verse over just the hi hat and bass drum. Just they drop things out. The use of dynamics, I think, is really good, and a lesson as to, when you can drop things out, when you can put things back in. You've got lots of multi-tracking guitar, and the solo has the twin guitars in it, the two parts that play, one on the left and one on the right, and some more whammy bar action I wrote down. Yes, I mean it's a 9 out of 10 and never a skip, isn't it? It's a great song, and that kind of branching out into new territory sonically, I think is worthy of note. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, I love the crunch of the guitar, and I can back up what Simon said. According to Wikipedia, this is apparently, according to Metallica, the beginning of thrash metal, which is not surprising because, again, when I read this on Thursday and went and listened to it, thought, yeah, it has the elements. So good to see Metallica paying it back, Hugh, to bands from the 70s. No surprise when you consider Lars, for example, the drummer, huge musical knowledge. Huge, so no surprise. Clearly they were listening to, these great bands themselves when they were forming their own bands. I love the fact that they've included all the elements into this song, and it's unlike anything on side one. So, Hugh, you made a point there, between having a slow song and a rocker. The contrast between the different elements on these on this album is remarkable between the two songs, and then you've got a side which is a little bit different from the previous side. So again, smart musicians and smart production. I've given this a 9 out of 10. I think I heard this song. I think I've heard this song back in the day, but I can't quite nail it, Simon. But never a skip, Hugh.
No.
Okay, thank you. On with track number 9, it's a short piano piece by Freddie called Dear Friends. And similar to the earlier track on side 1 of Freddie's, it's just a lovely melodic piano and vocal track. There's very pleasing on the ears again. There's not a lot you can say. You either like it, you don't, and I happen to like it. So it's an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, so it's a solo piano piece, isn't it? With Freddie singing, written by Brian May, multi-track, second verse, kind of thing. But I agree. There's not much you can say about it. It's a pretty bad 7 out of 10 from me, but not a skip. It's only a minute long. It's fine. But an interlude kind of thing, isn't it, between tracks? Andrew.
I can't add much to what you guys have said. Thank you, Ellen, for your rankings. She's given Stone Cold Crazy 10 plus. She loves it. So she's in a league of her own. I can't add much
Always.
to what you guys have said. Classic Freddie, gives us a snip of where he's going to go. And if you're listening to this album for the first time, it's going, oh yeah, this cat's cool. 8 out of 10, Hugh, never a skip.
Yeah, nice. All right then, on with track number 10, called Misfire. And this is the John Deacon song on the album. What I love about this song is John plays the electroacoustic guitar on this, and I think they sound fantastic on this. Really, really well recorded. And it's another short song that doesn't outstay its welcome. They pack a lot into under 2 minute song. I don't know how to do it, but yeah, it's a perfect pop rock. I can't fault it at all. An 8 out of 10 again.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's interesting to have two pretty short kind of what I would call filler songs in quick succession. They kind of put them together. It seems an interesting thing. Clearly they wanted to put it on for diversity reasons. See how diverse they were as a band and what different things they were. But I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely convinced by either. I mean, they're fine. They work fine as songs, and this one particularly has lots of nice production things on it, backing vocals, twin guitars, pan left and right. It's got a verse in the left speaker and then the chorus in the right speaker, so they kind of pan the two things together and stuff. So I give this 7 out of 10, but not a skip as a thing. But I think it's very much an interlude, isn't it, between the Stone Cold Crazy and then Bring Back Leroy Brown, which is anyway. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with you, Simon. I gave this originally a 6 out of 10, and then when I was, Mr. Wikipedia told me what you said, Hugh, that it's Deaky playing the acoustic on. It's like, oh, okay. I made reference to that a couple of songs ago, folks, that, Deaky plays more of a prominent role on side 2 as opposed to just being the bass player and coming out with funky bass riffs. Yeah, clearly he can play the acoustic guitar. And Mr. Wikipedia told me that Brian was a little bit concerned about his status in the band during this time because he thought maybe, they were going to get rid of him. So, tut, Mr. May, how dare you think that these 3 other guys would even dare get rid of you? Interesting how I'm going to use the word fragile. They thought their positions were in 1973-74, Simon. Interesting.
Oh yeah, what nobody's safe kind of thing. It's funny that, isn't it? Yeah, even third album. Oh my god, I'm about to get booted out.
Yeah.
Funny. Anyway.
Yeah. I've never read any biographies on Brian, so if you're watching on a replay and you know anything about this period, let us know. Was Brian really, really worried about it? I'll be intrigued to find out. But so instead of 6, I gave it 7, Simon, because of Deaky's acoustic guitar work. It's always good to see a bass player pull out the acoustic.
First ever John Deacon song as well. First song.
Yeah. Hugh, it's never a skip though.
Sure.
No.
Okay then. Track 11 is Bring Back That Leroy Brown. If you're not into like old style vaudevillian style Queen, then it may not be a track that you like. And at a time, this would have been a song that I probably would have skipped, just because I didn't understand at the time when I was young. But now I can see how well crafted it is and how brilliant they are at recreating old timey stuff. Ukulele makes an appearance in this one. There's no denying that the musicianship on this song is incredible, and the production is really, really high class too. So yeah, it's an 8 out of 10.
Yes, it is. This is Queen doing their kind of musical things. This is where the musical thing comes in. You know, we see it on Night of the Opera data races as well, where they have a tendency, and also at the beginning, remember with the seaside, the fairground organ thing, which is very much in that kind of style. And they do have that kind of streak of Englishness and that interest in the musical running through them, which this is kind of it, isn't it? Apparently, it's a sequel of sorts to a song called "Bad Bad Leroy Brown" by Jim Croce. Apparently, the song is about Jim Croce's song is about a 6'4" guy from the south side of Chicago who makes a pass at a married woman and gets rearranged like a jigsaw puzzle with a couple of pieces gone.
And with the baddest man, and badder than old King Kong, apparently.
That's right, yeah. Bad as old King Kong. Yes, indeed. But so this is kind of sort of, it's a bit of a tongue in cheek. So I should say, Hugh, that apparently, according to Wikipedia, it's a banjolele that Mr. May is playing on this.
Oh, that's all right.
Very much.
George Formby.
Yeah. So if you wrote down banjo or ukulele, you're all correct, because it's a combo of the two. Fantastic. Has that musical feel? Has that kind of? It's got upright bass on it as well. There's definitely there's one bit where there's a little bass thing, and it's definitely upright bass on it. Again, it's fun, isn't it? It's apparently it has 70 vocal tracks that had to be mixed down to work within a 24-track mixer. So there's 70 vocal tracks, and then they bounce them down to. But yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? All those extraordinary backing vocals and what's going on, and the call and response with the backing vocals at the end. Again, it's a bit kind of slight. I gave this an 8 out of 10, and I wouldn't skip it. It's to me, this is fun Queen doing kind of musical stuff. But yes, not a skip. Andrew.
Yeah, you're right, Hugh and Simon. It's an interesting track. Jim Croce, I think, according to Mr. Wikipedia, passed away or died a year before in a plane accident. So I think you're right. There's some kind of acknowledgement to him from the band. I spent a couple of hours the other night because I don't know a lot about that guy, Jim Croce, other than his songs. And sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. But
Croce is right. Croce.
Okay, it is Croce. But I didn't realise this, and sorry to sort of interrupt your show, Hugh, with a slight little detour. But heavily influential with a lot of artists of his time. So while he was, well liked and supported by, the record buying public, artists loved him. We're listening to him, so that's probably no surprise that Queen kind of wanted maybe to acknowledge him in some kind of way. That aside, I think you have to be a Queen fan to love this. Bear in mind, it's the first time I've ever heard it over the course of this week, Hugh. I've probably listened to it a dozen times. It doesn't, unfortunately, get any better when I listen to it, which is unusual because sometimes, a lot of times tracks do. And even knowing a little bit of the backstory about this didn't give an extra point or half a point or anything like that. I do get what Queen are trying to do, as the Rock Professor said. This is the theatrical part of Queen, which obviously Simon had a huge audience back in the early 70s with a lot of people. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been delivering something like this. But for me, I don't get it. I've given this 6 out of 10, Hugh, and I'd probably skip it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I would have probably given the same score and skipped it. But it did sound to me, the production of it is why I bumped it up a bit, a couple of points, just because it sounded better than how I remembered back in the 80s. So
yeah, I get that. I get
totally,
why production would have an influence on your score. I get that because we do that
I don't
often.
actually,
yeah.
As a song, I don't think that it's not my bag. You know what I mean? So
No. Yeah, it's not mine either. Good point.
Yeah. All right then. On with the penultimate track. It's a Brian May song called "She Makes Me." Very light and airy, acousticy song. It's kind of sparse for a Queen song, instrument wise. Not a lot going on, but it's made up. It makes up for that with the big, huge, echoey, reverby sound it's got, and the huge big drums, echo on the drums as well. This is when I was back in the cottage listening to this 40 years ago. This was the sound of summer to me.
Wow.
And I still remember it. It's only probably because of that memory that I'm going to rank it an 8.5 out of 10. Otherwise, it would probably have been maybe a 7.5 or so. Because it's not the best song on the album. It's very, very much not the dreaded crap fight second to last song.
Penultimate track.
Yeah. But I can't. It's a nice track, and I really like it. I know I would never ever skip it, and always play it. So, yeah, 8.5 out of 10.
So I always get to the penultimate track, and then it makes me laugh about whether it's any good or not, in a silly way. But yeah, it always makes me do that. I always get to the last track, and go second last track, and go, "Is this going to be really good?" I mean, I agree. I think that to me, it sounds that with that 12-string drums and the 2-track vocals, it sound a bit like a souped-up Supertramp. Look at that,
Right.
souped-up Supertramp. What about that for a piece of alliterative nonsense? But yeah, that's kind of I kind of had that Crime of the Century thing, and in my head kind of thing. Oddly, again, the verse has just 1-track vocals. Not 2 tracks, just sing on his own. You've got an electric that plays the melody and things, and some slightly at the end you get different chords, but more unsettling and discordant and things, and a weird siren noise in the background as well. Not quite sure what that was, right? But you've got that kind of drone and the drums to end. I give it a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's I think it's an interlude song for sure, and not something that it doesn't. It clearly you can tell it doesn't make an appearance in their live sets anytime. So
Never.
I think that's
No.
I think that's an indication of where it might be as a thing. So 7 out of 10 for me. I wouldn't skip it, but I think it's it's one of the weaker songs on the album for sure. Andrew.
Yes, Simon. It's a weird track. It's a weird track to finish a third album.
We've got one more track after it. So
sorry.
Don't do that.
Oh no, the next track is yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Reading my notes.
We visited.
Weird track, Simon. I've made a note here saying nice song, and I like the vocals, And again, through my research, I found out that Brian and John Deacon are playing on guitars. So, that was nice. Obviously, they did that quite a lot. Maybe that's how they wrote songs too. I don't know. Did they, write melodies together in the studio? Because it's like really easy, isn't it, Hugh, to pull out an acoustic and strum along to an acoustic? I don't know. And then they decided, okay, we'll go.
Isn't that the great dichotomy of being in a band? A band member brings a song to the studio. I've got this song, guys. Strum, 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 sing, sing, sing.
Yep.
And then, great stuff. Right. So, and then, somebody will do then. So Brian May will go away and do the guitars. Well, that's Brian May. It's not somebody else. Not anybody. It's just him making up stuff. And or Freddie would do a piano piece, or somebody would do something. And at what point do those things contribute to the the building of the song in a way that make so you can have a writing credit kind of thing?
Correct.
It's a perennial thing for bands, isn't it? And clearly at this stage, Queen were, well, Brian's got this strummy sort of song and stuff, so and he can play electric over it, so it's a Brian May song. But what the others bring to it is tricky.
Yeah, well, that's right, and I think that's probably what happened. They were strumming it together, and rather than track it, they said, okay, well, we'll just record the two guitar, the bass player strumming and the guitar player, but that's not enough to save the song. I've given it 8 out of 10. Interesting song, Stormtroopers and Silhouettes.
And stilettos.
Stilettos. And stilettos. Yeah, interesting.
Now,
interesting
there's
song.
an image.
There's an image.
Yeah.
The Star Wars thing, isn't it? It's a Star Wars image. So they had a Star Wars man in a Star Wars suit, but was wearing stilettos.
Yeah.
Maybe a skip, Hugh.
Sure.
Ooh.
Okay. So the final song on the album is "In the Lap of the Gods" revisited.
Yes.
I think it's a great song to finish the album on. It sounds like a final song of the album all the way through. Probably Freddie's first stadium bring in the crowd song to sing along. I think he did this before any of other stuff later on, like "We Will Rock You" and stuff like that. So funny enough, back in the late 80s, my football team, Glasgow Celtic, there was one game where we played Sport in Lisbon, and we overturned a 2-0 first leg defeat in the second leg, right? And when the final whistle went, they played this song over the tannoy, very loud, and the whole crowd were going, "Whoa, whoa, la la la." 80,000 people. 80,000 people. And I was there.
Oh, wow.
So the song in that it's got great memories for me because of that. It's just a great way to end proceedings on the album. And I'll always played this on added it to my playlist mixtapes back in the day. This is always a 10 out of 10 from me. I'm a big fan.
Is that the Jimmy Johnston, Bobby Lennox, Billy McNeil version of Celtic? The great version.
Yes.
Of Celtic. Yes. Never bettered. Donald McLeod.
No.
Right, no, indeed. Fantastic. Sorry. It's all coming back. Do you know, when I was a kid, we used to play football on the Downs in Bristol. Which has there's a kind of whole area in Bristol. It's called the Downs, and it has loads of football pitches on a Saturday. They play Saturday morning. We used to go out there and play. We all wore Celtic shirts for some reason. That was what we used to wear. Memory from my
Good
childhood.
taste.
Yes. Oh, they're fantastic shirts. Green and white hoops, man. Never bettered. Yeah, I mean, I think this is clearly according to the just to make that according to the NME. This is one of the 4 classic tracks on this album. Who are we to argue? It was such an august publication. Yes, you could tell it's Mercury, isn't it? It's got the piano bit and 3/4 time. by the way. 6/8, 3/4 in 15. So I've got a waltz time to it.
Mm.
With Freddie singing the piano, at the beginning. So it's a Freddie song. You can kind of tell, can't you? Again, you've got those really nice, that, as you say, Hugh, that multi-track vocal singing. Woo, that's again, it's an amazing example of the cross. Really nice melodic guitar playing with the singing, and you've got that gradual kind of build up, haven't you, with more vocals and heavier guitar towards the end, and then an explosion to end. What better way of ending a song than that? 8.5 out of 10 for me, but never a skip. Andrew.
Oh, I'm glad that we're not Rangers fans here on this channel. Very, very happy to hear that we're Celtic fans. Very much dear to my heart, Celtic. The rugby team that I played for all my life and support is Hamilton Marist, Hugh, and our colours are the green and white hoops too. So, yeah. And every time I meet a Scotsman, and I've met a few because there's a few here in New Zealand, the first thing you say to a Scotsman is Celtic or Rangers. If he's a Rangers fan, you say, see you later. And back in the days when I was drinking, it would probably be some swear words later. But yeah. You love Celtic, love the history, and good to see Postecoglou doing pretty well with another team that I support, Tottenham Hotspur.
Oh yeah.
They finished fourth. If we're not fourth, we're fifth. If we're not fifth, we're fourth. So we want Postecoglou to take Spurs to number one.
I think he'll make them a lot better this coming season.
I tell you what, and sorry folks for diverting and the subject to football, but the first half of the season you could see definitely what he was doing with Spurs. It was that attacking football. That's the game that he loves to play. It's attack, and they did pretty well. So if they continue that philosophy on the upcoming season, we should do well. But anyway, let's get back to ranking the tracks. I agree with you guys. And sorry, John. I'm reading my notes wrong. Analog notes. In the Lap of the Gods, wonderful vocals, isn't it, Simon? It's what you come to expect when you're listening to Queen, and certainly this album. Hugh, you made the connection there with the guitars. It's just phenomenal. Great guitars. Didn't know that this was the fourth greatest song on, or best song on this album, Simon and Hugh. Didn't know that. And wasn't aware that it was an anthem. Certainly not an anthem here in New Zealand. So if it's an anthem, it's definitely a UK thing. I'll be honest with you. It's they don't play this on classic radio at all, which is very, very interesting. And again, clearly we've got an image of Freddie just loving the keyboards and the piano, Simon. It's an extension of who he is, and he takes it further and further from this album, Hugh, onto some other albums, and just, does some great videos when he's in the keyboards as well. So I've given this 9 out of 10, Simon. You gave it 8?
8.5.
8.5.
I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a bit less. I think I've got a bit worn down by the previous tracks. It doesn't. I don't know. It kind of, it has a lot of heavy lifting to do at the end, kind of thing, to bring it back up, which maybe I suffered from a bit.
No, because I get where you're going from, because listening to side 2 is very much a different experience from side 1. Very much so. I found that out over the last couple of days. Very different experience. And yeah, this track's never a skip though. But again, you know, I'm reading my notes. It's interesting. It's interesting that they would finish this album with that track, because I'm flicking back. I'm flicking back, Simon, and I would have ended, if there's one thing that I would have definitely. Now I'm here. I would have ended this album with Now I'm Here,
Right.
because that's the rocker.
Yeah, no,
Yes. Yeah,
couldn't
I know what you
disagree
mean.
with
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Well, they ended side one with it, didn't they? Not side two.
Yeah,
Mm,
I would have ended it with, or to swap these tracks
swap them
around.
round, yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would
it's
have done
yeah.
the same.
We're only theorising and offering opinions here, folks. Remember, if you're watching on a replay and you are a Queen fan and we've done something sacrilegious,
Quite often.
we,
Yeah.
we
Tell us off.
apologise.
Fine.
Thank you, Hugh, for picking this album. Like
Thank
I
you.
said at the beginning, at the start, and in the green room with you guys, it's always exciting knowing that you're going to be listening to an album that you're familiar with the band, Simon. You're very familiar with the work, but you've not heard or listened to this album. You're not familiar with this, with an album. So it's always exciting. It's an exciting time. If you're listening, if you're ranking, say, From the Cradle by Eric Clapton, you've been listening to for continuously, it's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
You know?
completely. Yeah.
So,
I also think that to me that if you like, all the hits, all the best known songs are on side one, aren't they? They're all on side one,
yep.
and
Yeah.
side two is a more diverse mixture of things where they kind of spread out and do some other things, which is probably conscious. I'm sure that it's a conscious thing that that they put all the heavy songs on the first side, and then the more diverse esoteric stuff, on the second side. And I think that's probably our scorings reflect that really in that way. Argue about it. Scorings is fine, but I would say that's it. That it is like a lot of things, an album of two sides,
Yep.
and the second side is more diverse and more eclectic. That's what I'm looking for. Than side one, which I think is more cohesive and has the best songs on it. It's an interesting that would you say? I did mull this over a bit. Instead of having Dear Friends and Misfire, would you have gone back to that and said, find another song?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I
Yeah.
in retrospect, it's clearly an academic question, and I think probably the answer to that is we want to have these songs on there because they, and 74 is still the era of the diversity of people recorded you only got to listen to Led Zeppelin for diversity, and I don't think this is any different. I think people because the future was still wide open at this point, that they did feel as though they could bring in elements of music hall, banjolailies, whatever you like, into songs and integrate them into the band. And I think that's good. Folky stuff, and you know, I think that that's what they wanted to do, and that's the album they made. And that's all they're still pleased with it as an album. So,
Awesome.
I will
hats
say
off to them
though,
for doing it.
yeah, when it comes to a listening experience in general with Queen, for me it's all about Brian, and of course Freddie's amazing vocals. But
Sure.
Brian is such a unique guitar player. Nobody sounds like him.
No.
And he's like the king of putting the perfect solo, a short solo to every song he does.
Well,
It's just always crafted.
You're 100% right, and he becomes a giant in our minds with those live albums. Queen live at Wembley for a starter. The gig, Simon, that they did at Live Aid. and Brian's
Killed it.
sounding
Killed it.
is completely different from anybody else in 85, 86, 87, isn't he? He, with his live rig, with those, wall of Voxes. You're right, Hugh. He's, but he's continued that sound right through his career,
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. For me, Queen was always about those two. No disrespect to Roger Taylor and John Deacon, but
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
I agree completely. I
but
think that they are the basis, the foundation of Queen, Taylor and Deacon. But you can't. It's like a lot of things. You can't have somebody's got to be the foundation, and they don't necessarily shine out, do they? Whereas you say
yeah.
that kind of almost mathematical precision that Brian brings to his guitar solos. That
Yeah.
the working it out, the putting them together with the harmonies and all of that stuff. I mean, and that sound is pure Brian May. Nobody else plays like that.
Yeah.
You
But
don't need many
Simon,
notes before it's Brian, don't you? Oh, that's
I'll say one thing as well is, to be honest, I would love Queen a lot more if there was more just the heavy rock songs
yeah.
in their
yeah,
canon.
yeah.
Because when they rock out properly. You
Yeah.
see them live from the 70s and stuff like that. That's incredible live.
We Will
Uh,
Rock You as a
yeah,
good example.
Keep Yourself Alive, the very first song,
Oh,
is a banger. uh, uh,
Yeah.
when sometimes they get a bit too sentimental, Freddie stuff, it breaks the momentum up for me a lot.
good point. Good
I'd rather
point.
just hear a bit more kick. You know what I mean?
Maybe
So
next time we get
the first
together,
two
we should
albums
rank.
for you.
We should rank their first greatest hits album, which is a standalone greatest hits album. The one that came out in 80. Maybe we should rank that next time when we come together as a suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, we don't normally rank. Greatest hits. That's
We've only done one, and that was Queen's. Sorry, Wings. Wings.
we did.
Oh yeah,
We did do Wings.
Wings are great.
All right. If you are
Lovely.
watching on the replay, if you want to offer some comments, please, to our videos, we encourage you to do that. We do get views, but we're welcoming to any comments. We won't bite. If it's all
And
shit,
remember,
tell us.
yes, talking nonsense as usual. That's never happened before. But and if you want to come on and do an album like Hugh's just done, thank you so much, Hugh, for coming back and doing another. Then
Thank
our
you.
door is
Thanks a
always
lot.
open. And I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that if you watch two of these shows, you understand the structure of it. You don't need to worry about getting everything because there's three of us. That's the first thing I'd say. And it's about, I always make a point of, if you're leading or whatever, you pick out some points, but you don't pick out all the points. I know that Andrew's going to talk about bass because he's a bass player, so you don't need to say much about it necessarily and things. So, and Brad, the same, they're going to pick up other stuff and got to leave the gap. So if you do want to come on and do an album of your choice, we would love to have you. It's that community thing, this as much as anything else.
Exactly. So thank you, Simon. I'm just going to read this comment here before the Rock Professor goes and bids you all well. Queen's greatest hits is not just the best of Queen, but a fantastic collection of next level tunes. You're right, John. It's one of the best, greatest collections of greatest hits. Yeah, it is the first one, because I think there's three. I think they've got 3 volumes of greatest hits, but definitely the first one. Hugh, thank you, brother, for coming on
Thank you.
and hanging out with us again on the channel. It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Yes, Hugh, thanks so
Always a
much for
pleasure,
coming
mate.
on and doing a fantastic job, and great album, and great fun listening to it and ranking it this week. So thanks for coming on. Brilliant.
Yes. Yes, you
Yeah.
are. We've booked you in for next week.
Yes. How long can I do now? Yes, John. Apparently you are. It's called Scarecrow. Just warming you up. You've got a week to listen to it.
Yeah, so John and I are going to share the intro on that album, folks. Because we both had
Cool.
that when it first came out back in 85.
Yeah. Whereas I'm not that familiar with it at all. So that'd be really interesting.
Is that the album the song Authority was on? No.
I can't.
Hold on, I'll find out if you. Hold on a sec.
It's got ROCK in the USA, small town.
Let's have a look. Rain on the Scarecrow, Gramercy, small town, minutes to memory, lonely old night, the face of the nation, justice and independence, 85, between a laugh and a tear, rumble seat, you've got to stand for something, and ROCK in the USA.
Okay.
No, but we
So,
do look
no.
forward to. We do look forward to presenting that album because that's the only John Cougar Mellencamp album I've ever owned, Simon.
Wow.
So yeah, we look forward to talking about that again. I'm not a John Cougar Mellencamp expert, but I do know that album, and I look forward to talking with you guys.
Well,
John had a very close relationship with a scarecrow.
Did he?
If I could just say thanks to Ellen, Gretchen, John in the chat. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, fantastic as ever. But I've never owned a John Cougar Mellencamp at all, to be honest. But I have played Jack and Diane numerous times in the band we used to play in.
Yeah, me too, Simon.
Yeah.
Great song. Great song.
Great song. Yeah, it is a great song. Yeah.
I only mentioned the song Authority because I covered it on YouTube with Laurie and Players Nagy from Australia, and it was great fun, great song.
So that must be on an album after this because I didn't listen to John Cougar after this album, Hugh. So I picked them up on this album and pretty much dropped them after this album. One of those guys, just one of those bands that you do. You want to say goodbye, Simon, because I got a dog biting me.
Yes, so I say thanks to John. See you next week, John. Fantastic for Ellen. It's 8th of July in Australia, Gretch. I don't know what that means. That's my birthday, so just chucking it in there if anyone wants to. Anyway,
that's when Brad is back from his sojourn.
He's back. Oh well, just in time for the big celebration. Josh, Gretch, Ellen, who else? With Jonas popped in earlier. Jonas, hopefully we can get you on this show, Jonas. That'd be great. Arvin as well. Thanks, Arvin, for dropping by.
Yep.
Tony Bowen. Thanks, Tony. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for dropping by. Got to the top. Gretch, John Allen, Hugh Caldwell, some guy called Hugh Caldwell. OU812, Ryan. Thanks for dropping by, Ryan. Good to see you. And yeah, I think that's everybody. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you next week for Scarecrow. Take it easy. Take it away, boss.